Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the CALDO-MITACS webinar of today. We are broadcasting this webinar specifically for Mexico, and have a very special webinar today, since we are going to address um, two topics that are of interest of anyone that might be interested in studying in Canada when it comes to post-secondary studies. Um, just to give a brief overview of what will happen, I am just going to go through some of the logistics of today's presentation. And basically, you should expect a presentation of around 45 minutes. We will first hear about the internship program Global Links from MITACS, and we will then talk about the CALDO consortium universities from Canada. The presentation will be done entirely in English, and we will have at the end a period for questions and answers. So as you have realized by now, there's a chat box that you can see in your screen that you should use for placing questions. However, please note that all questions will only be answered at the end. So I will request that during the presentations you don't write us questions because we are not able to answer them during the presentation. So all of the questions that you may have, just take note on a piece of paper, and at the end, please write them down so that we can go through them as first serve basis, and we will answer as many as possible. We should have around 15 to 20 minutes for answering questions. And you can write your questions in Spanish if you feel more comfortable doing so. However, most of the answers will probably be in English. Um, so without taking more time, we have with us Matthew Bongiorno from MITACS that has kindly accepted our invitation to participate in this webinar for Mexico. Matthew will talk about the Global Link internship program, so the Pasantillas Global Links from MITACS, and will give us an overview of what they are about and how Mexican candidates can apply. So, without any further delay, I will ask Matthew to join us in the presentation. So, Matthew, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. Great. Okay, so once again, my name is Matthew Bongiorno. I am the manager for the MITACS Global Link program. I'd like to thank everyone very much for taking some time out of your evening tonight to come and listen to me and learn a little bit more about our program. My hope is that by the end of this session, you will all be very excited and eager to kind of apply to come to Canada in the summer of 2018. So with that, let's kick things off, and I'll start the slide presentation. So first, I'd like to speak to what we do here at MITACS and give you a little bit of context in that regard. So MITACS is a nonprofit organization in Canada whose goal is to promote research and innovation here. We have several programs by which we do that, but our international program is called Global Link, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on today. So essentially, Global Link is a program which is kind of building a living bridge between Canada and our international partners. The point of the program is to bring top international undergraduate researchers to the country to perform research with our faculty members here at our universities. The program also sends top Canadian students around the world as well to perform the same research. But for today's session, we're going to be focusing on those students who come to Canada for the summer for research. Specifically, the name of that program is called the Global Link Research Internship Program. And there are several objectives to the program. The most important of which is to provide undergraduate researchers from partner countries with the opportunity to undertake research in Canada. We also like to provide faculty in Canada with the opportunity to advance their research with the support of outstanding international students, such as those of you in Mexico. We also facilitate connections between Canadian universities and international researchers, and we encourage interns to return to Canada to pursue their graduate studies after they're done their internships. Now with that, I'd like to give you a bit of a program overview and kind of explain how the program works. So to start with, Canadian faculty members from across the country, and we have about 45 universities that participate, they submit their projects to MITACS. So for instance, if we were to use this year as an example, this past spring we had these faculty members from across the country submitting roughly 2,600 projects to MITACS, asking to recruit elite researchers to come and work with them for next summer. Once we receive all of those projects, students then apply directly to the projects via MITACS. We have an online portal which allows us to do that. And essentially what we do is we put up all these 2,600 projects, and students can go through them and see which ones they like and select them. Students essentially select a minimum of 3 projects and a maximum of 7 from anywhere across the country. But they have to select them from 3 different regions of the country and kind of spread them out across. After the students submit their applications, there is a review process whereby MITACS reviews student eligibility, and then we conduct matching between the faculty and the students. And during that matching phase, the students and the professors basically get a chance to interview one another. And so they'll call each other over Skype and they'll have a conversation to see if there's a good fit. And then following that, the students will rank the projects in order of 1 to 7, which ones they like the most. And then on the flip side, the professors will also rank the students in terms of who they feel is the best fit for that project. And then from there, we try and give each other the ones who ranked each other number 1 or number 2. Depending on your final rankings. Once that process is complete and all the matching is done, students then travel to Canada for 12 weeks between May and September to perform their research. So all that is happening this year, but then the research project only occurs next summer, in the summer of 2018. MITACS provides the funding that you need for the travel, the accommodation, and the living stipend once you're in the country. So let's focus on eligibility. What do you need in order to qualify? And first, I'll start off with some Mexico-specific eligibility criteria. So as you see on the slide here, first off, you have to be a Mexican citizen from any of the universities in the country. It's open to all. You must fill out an application that you can find on the CEP website. And it's important to note that that application closes on August 31st. The MITACS application actually closes in mid-September, but the CEP application closes about 3 weeks earlier on August 31st. And then finally, you must also have a cumulative grade point average of at least 85%. Some other eligibility criteria to be aware of, and this is standard for our partner countries around the world, is that you have to be at least 18 years old and be enrolled in a full-time undergraduate or undergraduate and master's program. You have to have a minimum of 1 to a maximum of 3 semesters remaining in your program once your internship is done in September of 2018. So if you've already graduated or if you're on the verge of graduating before you start your internship, that's already too late. You have to have at least 1 to 3 semesters remaining. You also have to be available to complete the 12-week internship, arriving in Canada between May 1st and June 30th, and then returning to your home country, which in this case is Mexico, between July 31st and September 30th. Now it's important to note that these are 12 consecutive weeks. We've had many requests in the past where students come to us and say, oh, can I just make it 8 weeks? Can I make it 6 weeks? Unfortunately, we can't do that. The internship is designed to be 12 weeks in length, and everything is predicated on that. So you do have to know that you're available for 12 weeks in the summer of 2018. And then finally, you must possess a valid passport that is valid at least until January of 2019. And that's important because it can't expire anytime before that, or else you'd be ineligible. If that were the case, then what we recommend is you go and get your passport renewal as early as possible so that it extends beyond at least January of 2019. So I wanted to reiterate some of the points I mentioned about applicants who are coming from Mexico. So as I mentioned, in particular, everyone applying has to do so through CEP. And up here on this slide, I've put up the various links so that you guys know where you can go to learn more about the CEP application process. And so ultimately, you would register on their portal, which you see the link there, and then you can get further information on their website. And I believe that these slides will be passed around to anyone who would like them afterwards, so you don't have to necessarily jot that link down now, but it would be helpful if you did. But these slides should be passed afterwards to anyone, whoever wants them. And as I mentioned before, again, the August 31st deadline is very important to keep in mind because that's when CEP closes their application process. Again, MITACS will close in mid-September, but there's two different deadlines, so it's very important that you're aware of both of them. I also thought I would briefly touch upon some of the documents that are important for you to submit when you open your application with MITACS. The first one is going to be an official transcript from your home university that needs to be in either English or French. If you can't obtain an English or French transcript, you're going to have it translated and notarized before the application deadline. This would be submitted to MITACS on the application portal online. So all the relevant instructions will be found there. In addition to your transcript, you're also going to need at least one letter of reference from a professor or a research supervisor that you've done research before with. This is going to be someone that needs to know you fairly well because they're writing a reference letter on your behalf. Now, you can have up to 2 different people submitting reference letters, but we need at least one. And of course, this will have to be in English or French as well, as those are the official languages of Canada, and those will be the languages in which you can be doing a potential research project on. And then finally, we'll need a CV detailing the research experience. Now, on our portal, once it opens up next week, you'll notice that there's actually some templates that we have for both the letter of reference and for the CV. So if you're not quite sure on how to do that, you can look at our template and you can copy that and create your own based off that. And then finally, I just want to speak to some key dates so that everyone is aware. So as I mentioned, the MITACS student portal will begin accepting applications next Monday, July 24th. The portal will close in mid-September. So that's roughly an 8-week time frame. Now, one of the things I like to stress to potential applicants is please, please do not leave everything until September. Try and get things done earlier than that because you won't be the only person who's going to be applying, and you really don't want to be leaving your letter of reference or your academic transcript until like the last week. There are going to be lots of other students who are going to professors, who are going to the academic offices asking for similar kinds of documents. So if you leave it that late, you may not get the required information in time for the deadline, and that would really be a shame to go through all that effort and then not be able to apply because you didn't get a piece of paper on time. So I really encourage everyone to reach out to your professors who you think would be willing to write you a letter of reference as early as possible and see if you can get that started as soon as you can. And then for your letter of reference, if you can request that online, I think that's ideal. If not, then perhaps you go to your university a little early before September and see if you can do it in person. And then finally, if you'd like to apply, you can go to our website, and that's www.mitacs.ca. And then if you go to our Programs tab and look for the Global Link program, you'll be able to find our portal there and a link to it. So with that, that is my presentation, and I look forward to receiving some of your questions toward the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Matthew. I think it was very clear. And once again, if you joined after the webinar started, please note that any questions that you will may have, address them at the end. So during the presentation, we are not able to answer to any questions. So at the end, I will put the chat box on display on the screen, and you can ask your questions either in Spanish or in English, as you prefer. So now moving on to the second part of our presentation. Let's talk about the CALDO consortium of Canadian universities. Just making sure that we start. Just before starting, I would just like to clarify the following. Um, we are having the presentation on MITACS and on CALDO, but the two agencies are not related for the Global Links program, meaning that I will be talking about the CALDO universities, but like Matthew said, you can apply to other Canadian universities. So the CALDO universities are just a group of universities that dedicates itself to having a very strong presence in Latin America, but are in no way the only choices that you have for the Global Links MITACS program. On the other hand, the aspects that we will be talking about in the CALDO presentation are master and PhD programs. And it's also important to notice that the Global Links MITACS internship does not finance master or PhD programs that we will be talking about in this presentation, because we will be talking about full masters and PhD programs. But let's kick off the presentation so that you know a bit more about CALDO. So for those of you that have not heard about CALDO, basically CALDO is comprised of a group of 9 Canadian universities. At the beginning, in 2012, when the group was created, it were only 4 universities, therefore the name. So CALDO stands for Consortium of Alberta, Laval, Dalhousie, and Ottawa. Obviously, this is an interesting word in Spanish, but the meaning in Spanish does not have anything to do with the group of universities itself. It was just a coincidence, the name. So those 4 founding universities decided that they wanted to have a strong role and a strong presence in Latin America. And to achieve that, they decided to create an office that enabled them to organize events, to assist candidates, and to connect with partner agencies on the ground in each of the countries where we have a presence. Mexico is one of the most recent countries where we have an agreement. So our agreement with Mexico, mainly with CONACYT, was established last year. It is now roughly 1 year and 3 months since we have the agreement with CONACYT in Mexico. We also work in Mexico with FIDER and with FUNED for different types of projects related to graduate studies, master or PhDs, and also language studies. However, for this presentation, focus on graduate studies. And the first thing that I would like to address is, what are the characteristics of the Canadian academic system when we are talking about master and PhDs? At the master level, and this is pretty much what I believe is the reality in Mexico, we have what it's called a research masters. That's basically, once you finish your licenciatura, you are able to undertake a master program. That master program can have research, or it can be mostly based on courses, so in attending classes. The research-based masters in Canada are called thesis-based masters, and the research and the non-research master programs are called course-based masters. Usually, course-based masters are sort of by professionals, so by, for example, engineers, by people from the health sciences that basically just want to gain skills. They don't necessarily want to do research. So, for example, business, MBAs, you don't have a thesis. You basically want to gain knowledge that you can apply in the workplace afterwards. On the other hand, the thesis-based masters are more adequate to people that wish to go into the academic system or do a PhD afterwards. For general information, master programs usually tend to last for roughly 2 years. Some course-based masters might might last between 1 and 2 years. Just one quick note. Our current agreement with CONACYT finances mostly thesis-based masters, so masters related to research. The professional masters are not one of the priorities for CONACYT. Therefore, they tend to give a preference to research-based masters. Once you have done your master, and in Canada, or at least in the Canadian universities that are part of CALDO, attending a doctoral program is in most cases only possible if you have a master. And that's because professors tend to have a preference for students that have some background in doing research. As you might imagine, a doctoral program is mostly comprised of research. You have the first and second year where you might have some classes, but for the 4 years, 4 or 5 years, you are doing research. The third and fourth year are exclusively dedicated to research, and you're working intensively with your supervisor. Looking at the current Canadian universities that are part of CALDO, you see here the logo and the name of each of them. But I will not go through each of them right now, because we are going to talk now a bit about each of them and their characteristics. Let's start with the University of Alberta. The University of Alberta is located in the province with the same name. It's located in the capital city of the province, so Edmonton. The University of Alberta is one of the main stars of the Canadian universities landscape. It's a university that usually ranks among the top 100 universities in the world, as some of the best research in the medical field, in the energy field, in the pharmacy and pharmacology fields. It's considered to be one of the top universities in the world in the areas of virus-based diseases, and it has a strong focus in the energy sector also. For those of you that are not familiar with the Canadian geography, the province of Alberta is where most of the oil and gas exploration takes place. And obviously the universities in that province tend to develop skills that are related to the province strengths. And therefore Alberta is one of the main universities in Canada should you be looking, for example, for petroleum engineer or programs related to the fossil fuel area. One of the main characteristics of all of the CALDO universities is that they are they are considered to be comprehensive universities, meaning that they provide subjects in most areas of knowledge. So you have subjects social sciences, engineering, medicine, health sciences, and so on. And Alberta is probably one of the universities for which they provide more choice of programs and when we look at the overall picture. Continuing in the same province, Alberta, we also find the University of Calgary. University of Calgary is a remarkable university by the fact that it's one of the newest universities in Canada, but it's also one of the universities that has gained more prestige since its existence. The University of Calgary has been consistently among the 50 best universities with less than 50 years, which speaks highly about the characteristics of the research that it's done there and the contribution of the university to the development of knowledge in different areas. The areas where the university has the highest impact are the areas of natural sciences, engineering sciences, veterinary, social sciences, and humanities. Once again, the University of Calgary has a very strong focus on the fields of energy, and they have some of the best researchers in the areas of neurosurgery, joint repair, and stem cell production. In addition to that, the university also has other fields of expertise that are not very that you don't find in a lot of Canadian universities, such as, for example, doctoral program in architecture or in veterinary. So those are just some of the programs that are very, very specific to the university and that are very characteristic and that you don't find with a lot of other Canadian universities. Going to the east coast of Canada, near the Atlantic Ocean, we find university, Dalhousie University. That it's in the very picturesque city of Halifax. So Halifax, like I mentioned, sits just beside the ocean, and because of that, the university has developed a huge expertise in the areas of marine science. Halifax is regarded as one of the top universities in the areas of oceanography, ocean studies, fishing, and climate change when it relates to the effect it has on oceans. The university is home of one of the best aquatic laboratories in the world, what it's called the Aquatron Laboratory. And some of the highlights of the university are in the areas of health sciences and social sciences. Veterinary is there, but that's a mistake. It should be agriculture, not veterinary. Going to the French-speaking province of Quebec, we find Université Laval. For those of you that are interested in developing your skills in a French-speaking university, Université Laval is one of the best choices that you have in the North American continent. As Matthew said, Canada has two official languages, English and French, and that gives very particular that contributes to a very particular landscape when it comes to universities. So you have the ability to study both in English and in French, and Université Laval is probably one of the universities that offers the most program options in terms of quantity and quality in the entire country. It's considered the old Francophone university in North America. It's rated as the top universities in the areas of natural science, engineering, health sciences, and agriculture. And it also has state-of-the-art laboratories, such as laboratories in optics, photonics, geomatics, and northern studies and climate change. In addition, it also has an excellent medical school for especially if you're thinking on studying in French, because um, most of the universities in Canada will probably be English-speaking universities for the areas of medical. Going to the capital city of Canada, Ottawa, we find the University of Ottawa. The University of Ottawa is considered to be the largest bilingual university in North America. Basically, this means that it's the university that offers the most programs in English and in French of all the universities in North America. They have a very prestigious life science and medicine school. They also have very high researchers and high quality research being done in the areas of natural sciences, engineering, health sciences, social sciences, and humanities. They have a very strong law school. Um, because they sit at the capital of Canada, they have developed a lot of expertise in the fields of political science, public administration, and obviously law also relates to those fields in one way or the other. In addition to that, the University of Ottawa was recently assigned with one of the three centers for North America of the Max Planck Center for Extreme and Quant Photonics. So it's one of the three universities in North America where you can have access to a Max Planck Center if you're interested in developing research in the areas of photonics. Going to the city of Kingston. The city of Kingston sits between Ottawa and Toronto, and very close to the border with the USA. And it was in the news in 2015 because one of their professors received the Nobel Prize for Physics. The university is one of the universities that is more specialized in the CALDO group, meaning that they don't offer probably as many programs as some of the others, but is a university that has a lot of expertise in specific fields such as business. So the Queen's University is usually among the top universities for MBA programs, for management programs in the world. They also have a very strong education department, and they are home for the Cancer Research Center in Canada, which obviously implies that the research being done in the cancer area is top quality at the University at Queen's University. Going to the province of Saskatchewan, you will find the University of Saskatchewan. The university is located in the city of Saskatoon, and it's one of the top universities in the fields of agricultural and veterinary. The University of Saskatchewan has developed more than 400 commercial crop varieties, which shows a strong sign of the amount of research that is being done in the agricultural area. So for those of you that are not familiar with the province of Saskatchewan, the province is considered to be the barn of Canada. So it's where most agricultural production takes place. And because of that, and like I mentioned previously, the university has adapted to the reality where it lives, so where it sits. And they have identified that agriculture and veterinary were key to the development of the province, of the prosperity of the people living in the province and that have their business in the fields of agriculture and veterinary. And they have grown to a dimension that it's now a worldwide university in these two fields. In addition to that, they also house the Canadian Light Source, that it's one of the leading synchrotron facilities in Canada. Going to the city of Waterloo, you find the university with the same name. The University of Waterloo is a powerhouse when it comes to information technology. Waterloo has been called the Silicon Valley of the North because of the quality of the students that reach the university for computer science programs and programs related to mathematics and fields that some way or another relates to the IT field. A lot of high-tech companies that all of you know, Google, Facebook, and others, have installed offices and branches in Waterloo or nearby because of the recruitment of graduate and undergraduate students from the university. But in addition to that, the university is also very strong in fields such as natural sciences, engineering, and also social sciences. The only thing that you won't find at Waterloo is a medical school. That's one of the things that they don't offer. But outside of that, they are one of the leading universities in the world in very different fields. And they have one of the best water institutes in the world where people can perform research on water on a variety of subjects. Finally, Western University. Western University is located in the city of London, Ontario. The university is among the 150 best universities in the world in the areas of geography, medicine, chemical engineering, but also rank highly in the fields of psychology and business. Actually, the university has one of the leading neuroscience departments that it's called the Brain and Mind Institute. You might probably come across some news recently about the worldwide study about sleeping habits. So this was a study that originated at Western University, and it's basically a study for which they are asking people from all over the world to participate online on the study. And if you go to the CALDO Facebook, you will see that, or the CALDO website, and you can online be part of the study that it's being led by one of the researchers from Western with some other professors from other universities in the world. Just some other indicators might be interesting for you to know a bit more about the relevance of our universities. So in 2016, there was a ranking of employability. And we were very happy to see that among the 300 top universities in the world, CALDO was able to be represented by 5 members: Waterloo, Calgary, Alberta, Queens, and Western. This is obviously very, very important for the universities because it shows clearly the impact that the university has on the people that study there. This year, there was also a ranking done by the Times Higher Education on which were the most international universities in the world. So this was a 150 ranking. and the University of Alberta and Waterloo showed up respectively in the 31st and 31st position in this ranking. So now let's talk a bit about CALDO and about what we do for candidates that are interested in master and PhD programs. What we do basically is summarized in two main ideas. The first idea is we assist candidates that have no clue as to where to start looking for information on a master or a PhD program. So you might know that you want to study PhD in mechanical engineer, but you have no idea what is the offering of our universities. Via Caldo, and by sending us an email, we give you access to the options from our universities and provide you the information that you require to start doing your decision process as to where you could eventually consider studying. Just a quick note that all of our services are free of charge. There is no fee associated with consulting with Caldo. Another big piece of our service is to try and help candidates find supervisors. Supervisors are essential for PhD studies. Without a supervisor, you will not gain admission to a PhD. Therefore, instead of looking by yourself for professors or for the research areas, we assist you in doing that. And by assisting you, save time and you gain more access to relevant information just by being in touch with us. On the other hand, you will also be able to benefit from some of the resources that we make available in our website, mainly how to write a CV, how to write a statement of research, how to contact a supervisor. So all of those resources are available 24/7 in our website, and we can also clarify any questions that you may have online via email, or if you prefer to do so, we could always schedule a Skype call or a phone call to clarify other elements that you are not entirely sure how to go about. Our website is available at www.caldo.ca, and in there you have access to a series of information that we consider to be relevant for candidates that are not familiar with the Canadian academic system, are not familiar with our universities, and basically just want an easy and fast way to access information. The way that our website was developed, so our website is very recent. It was launched, the newer version, in March this year. Is basically we have tried to make all the information available in no more than 3 clicks. So our menus are very straightforward. Our information is readily available from different points of the website, and we are continuously updating our website with news and events that relate to what we do. And just so that you know, Caldo will be in Mexico in October for the fairs that are taking place in some cities. So we will be in Mexico City, and if I'm not mistaken, also in Puebla and Veracruz. But I don't want to commit 100% with these dates, with these places, because they are still being defined. So keep an eye out for our news and events, because everything will be posted there and also in our Facebook. So if you have the need to contact me, you should just send an email, graduate.coordinator@caldo.ca. Tomorrow, everyone that registers for this presentation will receive the slides as well as the video of the presentation. And in addition, I will also send some other references as to some important information of candidates that wish to study in Canada. Without further delay, we should now move on to the question and answer period, because we are doing a good time, and I would like us to start answering any questions that you may have. So I will just expand the chat box, and I will ask Matthew to join us, and let's see if you have any questions. So Jose Antonio is asking, is there more scholarships other than CONACYT? So Jose, I will talk about CALDO. and about what we know from Mexico. In in Mexico, we work with very specific agencies. So our main partner is CONACYT, and they finance mostly, like I said, thesis-based masters and PhD programs. There is also FUNED that has very specific scholarships, but not all of them are eligible for CALDO universities. They are very strict with the type of universities that they accept. And not all CALDO universities are part of the FUNED eligible universities. There's another source of financing called FIDER, and let me just write the name of the agencies because it might not be clear what I'm talking about. So FIDER, if I'm not mistaken, we don't have any agreement with them. But basic, I believe that FIDER is a sort of a credito agency. So they will not give you a full condonable scholarship, but they will give you some financing. So those are the main sources of funding outside of the universities. So the universities are also another source of funding, but that's something that you should seek directly with the university. So CALDO will not actively seek scholarships from our universities for people that contact us. We assist mostly people that are wanting to study in our universities, but they are considering to bring financing from their home country. So Adriana is asking, is there a contact page or email to direct a specific personal question regarding eligibility for MITACS, or a website specifically tailored for Mexico? So Matthew, I will ask for your contribution here.
Sure. Yes, and I probably should have included that. My apologies in the presentation. You can reach out to us at the following email address. It's helpdesk@mitacs.ca. So helpdesk, HELPDESK @mitacs.ca. And any question that you have, we'll be happy to answer it. That will also be on the portal that we release on Monday, and you'll be able to find it there. As for a specific website tailored to Mexico, no, we unfortunately don't have that. But when you do log into the portal for the first time and you click the box that says you're from Mexico, all of the information on the portal will switch and automatically be tailored to Mexican students. So everything that I presented earlier in the slides will be on the portal for you as soon as you click that you're a Mexican student. And if I can, I'll see if I can type in the help desk address just one more time so you guys can see it in the chat box here.
Yes, yes. So Edgar is asking, I need a supervisor. I assisted the CALDO conference in Veracruz this year. So Edgar, what I suggest is that you write me an email to grad.coordinator@caldo.ca. So tomorrow, when you receive my email with the presentation, you will have access to my direct contact. And in reply to that email, you can tell me a bit more about what you're looking for, what is the area that you're looking for, what is your academic background, and I will give you an initial introduction as to what are the options at the CALDO University. And we'll go from there, because this is a process that needs to go by stages. So once you identify the program and the university, we will then move on to the aspect of the supervisor. Luis is asking, can you please talk about the agreement between CALDO and CONACYT? So basically, what happens is the following. CONACYT, they have different agreements with different universities in different places in the world, and basically what happens is that they allow Mexican students to come to Canada to study for PhDs up to 4 years and to master programs up to 2 years. They should provide you the necessary funding to cover for all the tuition, so all the charges from the university, and in addition, they will also pay for your living costs. So for masters up to 2 years and for PhDs up to 4 years. CONACYT releases their scholarships in their webpage. So all of the scholarships are listed in their webpage. So in Becas CONACYT, and Well, if you look for, if you look for convocatorias CONACYT, now I was, probably if you look for becas, you will also have, but more specifically, it's convocatorias CONACYT. And in the sense of the type of scholarships that they have very different types of scholarships, not in the money that they offer or in the way that they work, but with the different states in Mexico. So they have what they call the becas al extranjero, or convocatoria al extranjero, that it's basically for PhD programs. And then they have convocatorias with the different states in Mexico. So they basically have convocatoria with Veracruz, convocatoria with Guadalajara, and so on. So in that sense, they have different scholarships, and you have to identify which state you're part of and read the scholarship that relates to your state, and see if the areas that they consider to be eligible for the scholarship, if they apply to your case. So Eduardo is asking, what if I'm not selected by CONACYT for a scholarship? Can I try again? So every year they open the scholarship. Candidates that are not accepted in 1 year, they can try the next one. However, it's important to notice that sometimes the same scholarship might only open once a year, or it may open more than once, depending on the scholarship. My recommendation is that once you have access to the documents of the scholarship, read them carefully, because all of the rules are very clear. However, you need to read the full document to have an overview if you are eligible or not, or if you need to fulfill some requirements. One important thing that you need to realize is that CONACYT right now only accepts candidates that bring unconditional admission letters. What this means is that when you apply to the university, you will need to have all of the requirements that the university states for the program that you're applying. So for example, if the program states that you have to have a minimum level of proficiency in English in a high IELTS of a 7, you need to meet that requirement so that they will be able to issue the letter without any sort of conditions, okay? Because that's essential for CONACYT. Olivia is asking, is it possible to work as a teacher assistant in CALDO University? It is, Olivia. However, it's not guaranteed. So once you start your program, depending on the possibilities, depending on the professor, that's a possibility. However, it's not guaranteed. Deviani is asking, what is the difference between graduate and undergraduate? So, Deviani, undergraduate is the licenciatura in Mexico. Graduate is la maestría o el doctorado. That's basically it. Edgar, I have a master recognized by CONACYT and I want to study a PhD program in Canada. My email is Edgar. If you, I'm going to write my email here, because I will ask you to send me an email with the information that I was just talking. So give me a brief overview of your background, of your academic background, what you have studied so far, what you are looking for, if you are thinking on applying to CONACYT, if you already have an English test for your English or French. I'm not sure what is your preference, to certify your proficiency. So there's another question here. Sorry, I just can't see the name because there's a. So Edgar, I think it's Edgar. I'd like to know which is the main difference between applying directly to the university and applying by CALDO, and other questions. Besides the CONACYT scholarship, the Canadian University also offers a scholarship. So Edgar, like I mentioned before, we at CALDO, we are part of the university, so we are not a private office that is competing with the university. So what we do is to support our universities, or is to bringing some added value to the candidates. So one important thing to realize is the following: you don't apply to a master or a PhD program via CALDO. So you will always need to apply in the university website. That's the first thing that it's important to realize. The second thing is that at CALDO, we assist you with the decision-making process. So, like I said before, you're not sure what you want to study. You're not sure how to find a supervisor. You don't have any idea of which are the English tests that you can use or where to find the admission requirements. And that's what we do. We assist you in just one single, by contacting just one single entity. We assist you with information from 9 different universities. So that's the main benefit, is to be able to have access to 9 universities just by one single point of contact. The other main benefit is the fact that we will give you assistance with finding supervisors if you're looking for PhDs. If you're looking for master programs, finding supervisor, it's important, but it's not as important as in PhDs, which means that for most master programs, you can apply without having a supervisor. That's fine. There is no issue there. And for PhD programs, that's not possible. You will always need to have a supervisor to be able to gain admission. Deviani is asking, do we need English or French certification? Yes. If you have not done your post-secondary studies in an English-speaking university, or if you have not completed 2 full years in an English-speaking or French-speaking university, you will always need to show evidence of your language proficiency. You will need to have either the TOEFL, IBT, or the IELTS academic, or another test that the university or the program might accept and that are listed in their admission requirements. And you need to meet at least the minimum level of language that they require there. So sometimes a candidate might have a 6.3 and they need a 6.5. If that program is very competitive, there is no chance that a candidate with a 6.3 is accepted, because all the others go above that range. So keep in mind that it's very important that you always meet the minimum level of English. And I can see another question here that I can also reply. Is the GRE test required? So the GRE is required just some programs. So for most business programs, definitely, you will need a GRE. So for MBAs, for most masters in management, also for some for some PhDs, it's also relevant, but in very specific cases. So for example, I know that Waterloo requires GRE for the doctoral program in computer science. But for most programs, you don't need the GRE. Okay, so it's just for some specific programs. Tomas is asking if it's necessary to have a research topic to apply to a master degree program. Not necessarily, Tomas. For PhD programs, for master programs, you can have just a brief idea of what you want to do, as long as you identify the program. So, for example, master in civil engineering. You might have then a series of topics that you might want to research, but you don't need to know exactly what right from admission point. Danielle is asking, could I contact you for support on my supervisor letter of intent? Sure, you can send me an email, and I can right away invite you to go to our website, Daniela. So www.caldo.ca, and you will see a specific section that says a statement of research. So a statement of research is a bit like a letter for introducing yourself to the supervisor. And that's already a good starting point. But please feel free to contact me, and I'll do my best to assist you in any way possible. Louis is asking, I'm interested in applying for a master in chemical engineering or something related to oil and gas. Do I need to have professional experience? No, not necessarily, Louise. For most master programs and even PhD programs, the professional experience is not as relevant as, for example, having a strong background research or having very good recommendation letter for professors. That's probably more important than professional experience. Professional experience is more for programs like MBAs or programs where the candidate is supposed to have some knowledge about the field so that he can gather more, take more profit out of the program. But for most programs, you don't need the professional experience, especially when we are talking about masters. Danielle is asking, if I comply with the minimum in the IELTS, would you recommend to practice and do it again for a better score, or it's not necessary to have better opportunities? So Daniela, if you meet the minimum in the IELTS, you should be fine because everything else would now revolve around the GPA and also your references and your research project, or at least the what you would like to do for the research, if it's the case. So if you already meet the minimum, that should be fine. Um, Edgar Cervantes, could Caldo help us in order to find any scholarship from Canadian Foundation or something like that? Um, well, Edgar, our goal is not to find scholarships in Canada. So we can give you some ideas where you can find some funding, and probably the best advice that I can give you is the universities. The universities, some of them are very generous for candidates that are admitted. So some of them provide automatically some funding since the moment the candidate is admitted. Um, Other very good sources of fundings are from the professors themselves, especially if you're at the PhD level. If a professor has funding and you are a very strong candidate and he really wants to work with you, they will probably fund you. So that's probably the main piece of funding here in Canada is actually through the universities and the professors. Um, Saul is asking, it's always necessary for international students to apply with 9 or more months of anticipation. So Saul, depending on the program and depending on how many documents you already have available, you might not need to apply with 9 months of anticipation. So for example, if you have all the necessary documents like the proficiency test of language, your transcripts, so your certificado de notas translated into English or French. If you have letters, if you have professors that can give you recommendations, um, you are basically ready to submit an application to a master program. That's basically what you need, and as long as you are applying in the deadline, you should be fine. But for a PhD is a bit different. So you will need to find a professor. You will need to talk with the professor. You will need to explain him what you want to do. The professor needs to agree. So all of these things take time because professors, they don't reply sometimes very quickly. So my experience is that if you're applying to a PhD, probably if you're starting 9 months in advance, that's pretty good because you will have enough time for everything. You will have time to contact the professor, to apply, to gather your visa, because afterwards you will need a study permit to come and study here, to apply to scholarships. So all of these things, they take time. So it's very important that you keep in mind all of the time frame to do all of this. Brenda is asking, when should I apply for master if I want to study master in the fall? So Brenda, most of the fall applications are until the beginning of the year. So for example, if you are thinking on starting in September 2018, most of the applications will end. The deadline will be between the end of January and the end of March of next year. Some might even be a bit before that, so the beginning of January. But in most cases, you're looking at between January and March of the same year. So if you're thinking on starting your studies in September, this is a good time to prepare everything because you will have enough time to submit your documentation for the program application. So I think I covered most of the questions that you have asked so far. Matthew, I have been talking a lot. I don't know if you want to add anything that you thought of based on what people are asking about the program from MITACS. Please feel free to do so because most of the questions so far I've been answering them, but please feel free to add anything that you might feel. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I'll just add, depending again on the eligibility, because I get the sense from a lot of the questions that a lot of the students online have probably already graduated or very close to graduating. I would just reiterate that I think the MITACS Global Link program really offers you a really good chance to get your first step into Canada and kind of come here for a summer, experience it, get the funding that MITACS provides for you to come over here, get some experience with the universities and the professors and the way people like to operate. And I think based on that, if you're still interested, we would definitely encourage you to come back and pursue graduate school. That's kind of what we mean by a living bridge, is to get here and actually build those connections between students and faculty, students and other students, and just give you that sense of, hey, this is what Canada is all about. And it's one thing to read about a place, you know, or just see pictures, and that's nice, but to actually live there, it's a very different feeling. And so by coming for the summer for 12 weeks, that really gives students an opportunity to see what the country is all about and what their particular university is all about. So if you meet the eligibility criteria, I really encourage you guys to apply for that program and come visit with us for a summer in 2018.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Yeah, indeed, it's a wonderful program, and it's like you mentioned, it's an experience that it will be valuable, and you will not have any costs with it, because most of the funding is coming from a Canadian source. So it's a wonderful
Exactly.
opportunity if you're able to meet the requirements. Just one other element that I caught my eye here. Luis Ricardo is asking if I need to have my licenciatura title at the moment of applying. So Luis, if obviously if you don't have yet a bachelor, a licenciatura, um, you can only apply to a master program. And yes, you could apply to a master program if you're finishing your licenciatura. Usually what happens is you will apply with a temporary transcript, so you will need to still have proof of the grades that you had in all of your subjects, so in the different classes, in the different topics. You will submit that in your preliminary application, and the university, if it feels that you're reaching if you're meeting the minimum or going above the GPA that the program requires, they will probably issue an additional letter saying that you will be eligible to start the program, as long as you will meet the minimum GPA once you finish your licenciatura. But it should not be a problem. So you should be able to still apply if you're in the process of finishing your licenciatura. Obviously, we are talking about finishing your licenciatura in the next 2 months or 2 or 3 months. We could not be looking at 1 year or in advance. But if it's a short period of time, that's perfectly fine. So I think that we have covered for the most part all of the questions that you have been asking. I would now just do a brief overview of what will happen next. So I will be sharing the presentation with all of the people that have registered for today's webinar. And I will also be sharing the video and the contacts that we have from Caldo and from MITACS for any questions that you may have. Please feel free to use the emails that we will be providing for further questions. Obviously, don't come to Caldo asking for questions about MITACS, because we will not know about it. Please use the contacts from MITACS, and the same with MITACS. If you go to MITACS asking about Caldo, they will not be able to answer your questions. So please refer your questions to the email that I just provided. Hopefully this was productive for all of you, and we hope to hear from you either by email or eventually if you come to Canada for next year for the MITACS program or for Caldo University for graduate programs. Thank you so much to everyone and to Matthew for taking part of this presentation, and hope to hear from you soon. Thank you so much from Caldo.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Matthew. Bye.